I reclined in my chair, scanning the room and pondering the abundance of attractive women present. Why did Michael Stevens opt for my wife? What made her agree, and why did she leave me? With our kids growing more independent and likely not returning home soon, Emily and I had already outlined our plans for when we have the house to ourselves. Months back, I had entertained thoughts about the future dynamics between Emily and me, assuming we'd grow closer with increased quality time together. Then it dawned on me abruptly, Emily's vision of the future might not include me. I felt utterly foolish. That realization swept away all traces of sadness, leaving behind a simmering anger. I could sense the concern in the gazes around the table, as if they feared my head might explode or I might do something foolish. David, sounding anxious, inquired, "You all right, Tom?" On the far end of the dance floor, seated in a booth, were 4 striking young women visible over David's shoulder. Why hadn't Michael Stevens chosen one of them? I observed them briefly before bursting into laughter, startling everyone at the table. My laughter echoed so loudly that it drew attention to our group. Tears streamed down my face. Once my laughter subsided, I wiped my tears and flashed a broad smile to everyone, realizing my life had undergone a profound change. I was no longer bound by monogamy. The concern for my wife's feelings vanished as she no longer cared about mine. All eyes were fixed on me. Turning to David with a smile, I removed my wedding ring and handed it to him, leaving him astonished. Pass this along to Emily when you see her. I have matters to attend to." Standing up, I tossed a $10 bill onto the table. That's for my drink. Since you were so supportive of Emily's infidelity, you can cover it, I said as I walked away from the table. My former friends called out to me from the club entrance. I pondered what I would say if they attempted to follow me, but one thing was clear. Any husband who disregarded my warning and pursued me would meet a broken nose. Lost in thought, I contemplated Emily's pursuit of selfish pleasure and my own intentions for self-indulgence. Upon reaching the hotel, I inquired about available full-size suites. At the front desk, the clerk regretfully informed me of their unavailability but suggested a honeymoon suite instead, listing its numerous amenities. "I'll take it. There's no need to keep the room I'm currently in since it's late at night already. I'll cover the cost for both rooms. My wife will remain in the original room while I'll be in the suite," I informed the young woman behind the desk. She gave me a puzzled look. "You were arranging something special for your wife?" she asked. After she handed me the key card for the suite and provided directions, I made a request. "If my wife inquires about the key to my room, please refrain from giving it to her. Actually, could you leave specific instructions not to disclose my whereabouts if she asks?" The young woman's expression turned curious, but she smiled nonetheless. "I'll ensure the hotel staff receives your instructions," as she assured me. I returned to my previous room to gather my belongings, leaving Emily's items behind in the trash bins. Taking the elevator to the top floor, I marveled at the spacious honeymoon suite, complete with a jacuzzi on the expansive balcony with a city view. I had brought an expensive tuxedo along in case we decided to indulge in late-night drinks at one of the upscale nearby restaurants. Donning my jacket, I made my way back to the club, stopping by the ATM for some cash. Upon my return, a long line had formed at the entrance. Approaching the doorman confidently, I slipped him a $100 bill. With a smile in return, he opened the door and welcomed me inside. My former friends were seated at a table as I entered, scanning the club. I hoped to spot what I had observed earlier, a table by the dance floor occupied by 4 stunning young women. There were no men accompanying them, indicating it was likely a bachelorette party, which suited me perfectly. Walking through the club, David spotted me and attempted to wave and call my name. As I passed their table, all eyes turned to me, but I paid them no heed. Crossing the hall, I approached a table occupied by 4 women. Why are 4 lovely ladies sitting without company?" I asked. All 4 smiled at me, with the taller brunette laughing heartily and explaining, "We're here for our friend. Some idiot left her for another woman, so we're here to lift her spirits." The brunette seemed a bit tipsy. Well, if you don't mind, I'd love to dance with your friend and help cheer her up. I turned to the petite redhead who smiled and offered her hand for me to help her out of the booth. As we danced, I inquired about her name. As Samantha, as she replied. I'm Tom, I introduced myself. How could someone be foolish enough to let go of such a beautiful woman? She responded, because he's an idiot. We shared a laugh as we continued dancing and chatting. Samantha shared that she was studying nursing in college and grew up nearby. As a slower song began, we kept dancing. With the music now softer, Samantha asked, Are you married, Tom? I confessed, we were no longer together. Was it your wife who danced with Michael Stevens earlier? I noticed she disappeared after that dance, Samantha remarked. You weren't the only one who noticed, Samantha. I flashed her a sincere smile. Looks like you discovered our breakup at the same moment I did. Samantha returned the warmth with a smile, and we danced closely until the song's end. Both of us had recently experienced heartache from people we cared about, and holding each other felt comforting. As the music ceased, we made our way back to Samantha's table. Addressing the others, Samantha declared, I know we agreed no men would join us, but I want Tom to stay. The brunette teasingly responded, I don't know, we did say no guys. How about I treat us to a couple bottles of champagne to make up for it? I proposed. I'm not sure, a deal's a deal, as Samantha countered. She smiled at her friends and added, we saw Michael Stevens leaving with his wife. In unison they exclaimed, I didn't see a damn thing. 3 of the ladies shifted around the booth to accommodate Samantha and me. Before I could inquire about their names, the blonde beside Samantha questioned, do you two have an open marriage? Absolutely not, I affirmed. Then another blonde chimed in, what did she say to you? Nothing. She claimed she was going to the restroom but slipped out the back of the club with Michael. I gestured with my thumb over my shoulder, and all my former acquaintances covered for her. Just then, the waitress approached, inquiring if everyone enjoyed champagne. I received smiles all around. 2 bottles of your finest champagne, I ordered, eliciting applause from the girls. Before they could pose another question, I introduced myself. Their names were Lisa, Christy, and Susan, all nursing students alongside Samantha. After the champagne arrived and everyone had a full glass, Christy, the brunette, inquired about my plans regarding my wife. As far as I'm concerned, our relationship ended the moment she walked out the door. Do you have kids? Unfortunately, yes. A son and daughter, 15 and 13. But soon they'll be more independent, and I'll address things with my wife. Samantha linked arms with me, declaring loudly, forget about it. You're with me tonight. We toasted with our glasses and indulged in champagne. I shared a few jokes, and the girls reciprocated. Laughter and drinks flowed as they danced with guys and each other, while Samantha remained seated with me, her arm around me. As the evening wore on, Christy became upset, abruptly rising from the table and dashing off. We all turned to see where she went. Apparently, Dee had approached to talk to me, but Christy intercepted her near my ex-friend's table. Though we couldn't hear their conversation, we witnessed Christy jabbing Dee's chest repeatedly while yelling in her face. Ending the confrontation, Dee welled up with tears and resumed her seat. Christy vented her frustration at the entire table, and the surrounding tables chuckled at the discomfort of my former companions. Upon Christy's return, Lisa and Susan exchanged high fives with her. Christy sipped her champagne, flashed me a smile, and declared, none of these fools are coming near our table for the rest of the night. Glancing back at their table, I noticed they were all getting up to depart. Both Jane and Dee appeared teary-eyed, and none of them glanced our way. What happened, Christy? I saw that woman muster the courage to approach you, I questioned. So I pushed her away and let them know exactly what I think about those who aid cheaters. You left quite an impression. They obviously hoped I'd forgive Emily to ease their consciences for that. I owe you a kiss. Samantha seized my head, playfully protesting, "Oh, you really shouldn't. and then she kissed me fervently, egged on by the other girls. After breaking the kiss, Samantha bestowed a sweet smile upon me. Lisa teased, "Get a room, you two." Actually, I have a suite in a hotel nearby, and you ladies seem unfit to drive. If we hurry, we can still have champagne delivered to our room. After settling the bar tab, the four of us made our way to the hotel. Samantha clung to my arm while the others leaned on us for support. During the reception, I ordered 4 bottles of champagne for our room. When I mentioned to the receptionist that it was a honeymoon suite, the ladies burst into giggles. Riding the elevator, they began singing the wedding march. Samantha blushed deeply but held on to me even tighter. As we neared our room, the ladies joked about me carrying the bride over the threshold. Samantha looked at me with her captivating eyes and said, "You don't have to if you don't want to." I pushed open the door, scooped Samantha into my arms, and carried her inside. Once in the room, Samantha embraced me and kissed me passionately. The ladies found it amusing, but their teasing ceased when Christy spotted the jacuzzi on the balcony. Before I could set Samantha down, they had all stripped down to their bras and underwear and were in the jacuzzi. Setting Samantha down, she continued to hold my hand and smile at me. There was a knock on the door. "A champagne delivery for your room," the voice announced. We brought the champagne to the ladies, who joked and giggled. Susan insisted I was overdressed and urged me to undress. I laughed, explaining I was keeping Samantha company. They playfully urged Samantha to join them in the jacuzzi, but she simply smiled and led me back to the room. We headed to the bridal suite while one of her friends sang the wedding march from the balcony, laughing hysterically. The next morning, I awoke with Samantha wrapped around me and 3 other undressed ladies sprawled across the king-size bed. They must have joined us later. As Samantha and I got out of bed, she watched me. I smiled at her, and she returned the gesture. "Did you enjoy yourself, Tom?" she asked. "Yes, it was the best night of my life." "Any regrets?" "Absolutely none." "Join me in the shower," Samantha beckoned, slipping out of bed and pulling me towards the bathroom. Eager to try something new that I had never done with Emily, once in the shower, I lifted Samantha up and positioned her on my hardness while standing, pressing her against the wall. She wrapped her legs around my waist. Although the standing position was challenging, it led to one of the most intense peaks I'd ever experienced. Samantha had already climaxed twice, each time loudly. Exiting the shower, Samantha and I discovered that our passionate lovemaking had awakened the other ladies. Despite their hangovers, they were in good spirits, ordering room service and sipping mimosas. Christy remarked, "I can't wait to try that shower. You two made it sound like it's the best shower ever." The 3 girls burst into laughter as Samantha and I exchanged smiles. After everyone had showered and departed except for Samantha, who requested a ride home, she nestled close to me during the drive. "Tom, I understand what your wife did was awful, but you still have the option to reconcile with her. If not, I'd be happy if we could see each other again," Samantha expressed hopefully. "I would like that, Samantha. Right now, I'm not inclined to return to my ex-wife. I had a great time with you. You're what I need at the moment, so give me a call if you think we can make it work," I replied, kissing Samantha at her doorstep. As she opened the door, Christy greeted me from the couch with a smile and a wave. Exiting, I realized that I was postponing a decision regarding Emily. Returning to the club had been a spontaneous response to her infidelity. While it didn't resolve my issues with Emily, it certainly lifted my spirits. Upon arriving home, I took a moment to unwind, sinking into a chair in the dimly lit living room, lost in thought about how to navigate the end of my fractured marriage with minimal impact on my children. I didn't bother flicking on the light. Eventually, after an indeterminate amount of time, I heard a car pull into the driveway, followed by the sound of keys turning in the lock. Tom, I'm home," her voice echoed, mirroring the tone I was accustomed to hearing upon her return from errands. As she shut the front door and flipped on the light, I turned to face her. She appeared unchanged, the same blue dress draped over her, dark hair cascading down her back, familiar features, rings adorning her fingers. Everything remained unchanged. It was as if nothing had transpired, as if she hadn't spent the entire night and morning betraying me with another man. This can't be real, I thought, expecting some visible difference, a trace of guilt or shame etched on her face. Yet there was nothing. It's just me, same old me always, she remarked with a gentle smile, fully aware of my inner turmoil. And nothing's altered here. My love for you is as steadfast as ever. I wish I could say the same. Hearing my own words, I realized the detached tone I adopted. Tom, with the countenance of a man devoid of emotion, I mused. Gazing at Emily before gesturing toward our bedroom, don't start. Go take a shower, I instructed firmly. Despite attempting to interject, Emily eventually obeyed, retreating upstairs. After her shower, she returned downstairs. Tom, where are my clothes from last night? She inquired. I believe they're still in the hotel room where you left them. You didn't bring them back? No. As if on the cusp of reproach, Emily hesitated, realizing any criticism of my actions would only amplify her own misdeeds. Instead, she lapsed into silence, recognizing the futility of such an argument. Why did you leave them, Emily? She sighed in response. It was Michael Stevens. He's wealthy and renowned, able to have any woman he desires. When he asked me to dance last night, I felt like the most sought-after woman in the room. He made me feel truly special, Emily gushed, still basking in the glow of the previous night. As she spoke, it was evident she had become lost in reminiscing about the moments shared with Michael, completely disengaged from our conversation. It was in that moment that I realized it was truly the end. Emily will forever treasure her time with Michael Stevens more than any moment with me. I was merely an afterthought, I reflected. Do you love him? I inquired. And no, I don't love him. It was merely physical. I love you, Tom, Emily replied. You hesitated, I pointed out. Emily, I recognize what that look means. You would have gone with him if you'd asked. It was just one night. It was just physical. The conversation ends here. I need time to think. Pack some things for yourself and the children and stay with your parents for the week. But Tom, the discussion is closed. If you truly want to resolve this urgently, given how I'm feeling, you won't get the outcome you desire. Emily retreated, this time with anger in my tone and expression. Emily packed her bag and departed. As soon as she was out of sight, I set my plan in motion. Seeing Emily at the doorway in her familiar blue dress, unchanged, triggered an epiphany. I realized that change was necessary for my survival. I contacted my boss requesting 2 weeks off, then rented a truck and purchased supplies from a hardware store, wood, drywall, paint, and 2 exterior doors. Upon returning home, I gathered my tools and got to work. Firstly, I removed the front door and the surrounding windows. After cutting out a sizable opening, I installed the 2 front doors, positioning the old one on the right and the new one on the left. Then I framed the wall along the main entrance, dividing the house into 2, and applied drywall. I was converting it into a duplex. A new back door was installed on the left side where the new kitchen would be situated, mirroring the layout of the other side. The office was transformed into a 3rd bedroom on my side, while the dining room became the 3rd bedroom on Emily's side. Once completed, each side of the duplex nearly matched, except for the detached garage on Emily's side, which I plan to replicate on mine later. I changed the garage lock and the access code on the garage door to ensure only I had entry. Additionally, I erected a fence in the backyard, dividing it precisely in half, thus creating a duplex. I made daily calls to my children, informing them of my ongoing house renovations. Despite Emily's persistent request to talk, I insisted I wasn't ready to listen. A few days later, I reached out to Samantha, eager to hear her voice and perhaps arrange more time together. I thought you had forgotten about me, as she remarked. I can't get you out of my mind. Would you consider going on a trip together? I proposed. And no, stop teasing me, as she responded. I'm serious. I was thinking of a weekend getaway, just you and me, I clarified. Really? Samantha's interest was piqued. Yes. How about the Bahamas? I suggested. Sounds tempting. Can you get away this weekend? Fly out on Thursday and return on Tuesday? I asked eagerly. Yes. I'll just grab my phone and passport. We can buy everything else there, Samantha agreed. After exchanging excitement about our upcoming adventure, I bid her farewell to finalize my travel arrangements. A spontaneous trip to the Bahamas wasn't cheap, but why not take the chance? If Emily decides on a divorce, she'll receive half of our savings and my salary for child support. It amused me to think of it as Emily indirectly funding part of the trip with Samantha. I transferred our savings into a bank account solely under my name and redirected my salary to that account. While I doubted Emily would cancel the credit card, I wanted to ensure access to funds just in case. Working tirelessly for 16 hours a day, I managed to erect most of the walls, albeit with some areas left unfinished on my part. By Wednesday, I had painted and trimmed the central wall on Emily's side. I knew I'd later need to separate utilities like electricity, gas, and water, but for now, since Emily's side shared utilities, she couldn't disconnect my side. Wednesday night, I instructed Emily to bring the kids home the following morning. Thursday morning, I secured my section of the house and waited outside, sitting on a chair. As they arrived and stepped out of the car, they appeared bewildered on the front lawn. Dad, what's going on? Emma broke the silence. I turned our home into a duplex. Like it? I asked, to which they all stared at me incredulously. Don't worry, guys. I finished the right side and moved your belongings to your new rooms, I assured them, leading them through the new layout while Emily attended to their bags. They were speechless. Our tour concluded in the living room of the right side. But Dad, the living room is much smaller, Tommy observed. Don't fret. You won't even notice. Plus, I plan to add a garage on the other side and eventually a pool with a jacuzzi, I promised, eliciting smiles from the children. Emily prompted the children to unpack while she exchanged glances with me, seemingly eager to talk. Instead, I joined the kids, helping them settle in and ensuring they had everything they needed. After unpacking, I pulled out sandwiches from a local deli, and we gathered around the kitchen table for lunch. Dad, what's all this about? Emma queried, her focus mostly on Emily's reaction. After spending the past few days with her, it was evident to Emma and Tommy that something was amiss with their mother. Dodging their inquiries, we're nearing empty nest status. I've realized that things are bound to change. I'm just getting prepared, that's all, I mentioned. Gee, Dad, you could have at least talked to us first to see how we feel about it, Emma remarked. Well, actually, it was Mom's idea. She felt we needed to change something different, I explained, grinning at Emily, who appeared surprised. Mom, why make such a big decision without discussing it with us? Emma questioned. Yes, Mom, don't you care about our thoughts? Linda seemed puzzled. It was just a misunderstanding. Your father misinterpreted how I felt, Emily responded. I don't know, dear. You seemed quite certain. Then once I saw your unwavering commitment, I knew there was no turning back, I added, causing Emily to appear on the verge of tears. Before she left the room, Tommy asked, what's up with Mom lately? She's been crying over everything, I related. I shrugged and suggested they ask her. Before Emma could ask more, I informed them of my planned trip out of town, ensuring them I'd call every evening but be unreachable otherwise. I kissed their heads and swiftly made my way to the door. I wondered if they noticed my lack of goodbye to their mom, who was in the bedroom. I picked Samantha up, and we hit the road. It was an incredible experience, first-class flights, a luxurious resort, and royal treatment. A weekend filled with sun, sand, waves, food, and drinks, simply fantastic. Samantha was genuinely appreciative and showed her enjoyment at every turn. By the time we headed back, we were both bronzed and so familiar with each other's bodies. Dropping Samantha off on Tuesday, she kissed me passionately. Do you want to spend one more night? She asked. Yes, but we need to meet in person sometime, and you have classes tomorrow. Call me before bed. I need to hear your voice, I replied. After our final kiss, I drove home feeling content. Samantha mentioned last night that she could see herself falling for someone like me. Pulling up to my house, I noticed Emily's car in her driveway. Opting to avoid her, I parked on the street in front of my side. While unpacking, Emily knocked on my door. You're back, as she noted. Yes, I am. Can we talk? Sure, what's on your mind? Can I come in? And no, this is my space, and you're not welcome here ever, I asserted, leaving Emily visibly taken aback before she retreated to her room. The realization hit me that living on her side of the duplex was not going to happen. We sat at her kitchen table. Tom, I love you. I want things to go back to normal, as she said. It won't happen, I replied. Why not? She asked. Because if you haven't noticed, you did something that changed how I feel about you forever. That shouldn't define us, as she argued. Actually, it does. Nothing will erase what happened or how I feel about it. But I still love you, I said, gathering my thoughts. Imagine we're on a date with friends. You leave me for another man and spend the entire night and morning with him. If this happened on our first date, would there have been a second? But Tom, it was Michael, as she pleaded. I don't care who it was. You chose someone else over me. You chose to sneak out of the club and be with Michael Stevens. It was just one night. You've had your whole life to show me you love me. The moment someone more famous spoke to you, I became insignificant, I explained. Does this mean I should keep you away from all famous people? There's a marathon this weekend. Will you sleep with the winner? She countered. Tom, that's not fair, as she protested. In a calm voice, I responded, so now you want fairness? You want a chance to minimize what you did, to talk me out of my anger, to shame me for feeling betrayed, a fair chance to accuse me of not prioritizing our family over my own pain? It seems I'm the only one expected to be fair in this relationship. I reached for her hand, and she reluctantly took it. We locked eyes, and I knew I was about to deliver a painful blow. Emily needed to understand how our future relationship would unfold, and I was eager to show her. It's too late, Emily. Too late. Yes, it's too late. I found someone else, as she revealed. No, I countered. Emily recoiled, pulling her hands from mine. Do you know who it is? She asked. I'm sure David and your friends told you about the redhead I danced with, the one who held me tightly, I confirmed. The woman who took your place on the anniversary you discarded when the words replaced and threw you away were said. I gazed into Emily's eyes and detected sadness. I understood that David must have sent Emily pictures of Samantha and me dancing closely, resembling lovers. With simmering anger in her voice, Emily asked, Are you doing this to retaliate against me, introducing some 24-year-old girl to me to even the score? Actually, she's 21. I spent 4 days with her in the Bahamas. Remember that dream vacation we always talked about? It was fantastic. I knew I wore a broad smile as I spoke, unable to contain my excitement. The weekend truly had been remarkable. Emily glared at me once I finished speaking. I sensed my words had stoked her anger. I knew my lingering smirk only fueled it further. Reminding myself of the children, I took a deep breath, willing my face to relax and the grin to fade. Emily's eyes burned with fury, indicating she was about to unleash a torrent of condemnation. But upon seeing my grin resurface, she realized I anticipated every word she intended to utter. Émilie froze. Then she let out a slow exhale, shut her mouth, and rested her hand on the table. We sat in silence, locked in a stare. I could tell Emily wanted to lash out at me, to scold me for my actions. However, she recognized she had lost her moral high ground. The leverage she relied on in our relationship was built on love and trust, qualities she had casually discarded for a single night of passion. It dawned on Emily that her actions had exacted a heavier toll than she had anticipated. I'm certain that when Emily made the decision to be with Michael, she believed she was just cashing in some of the chips she had accumulated throughout our marriage. It finally dawned on her that she had recklessly put everything on the line. Emily sat silently for a moment, her hands clasped together on the table, staring off. It doesn't matter. I love you. Yes, you keep insisting that your love holds special significance. But why should I value your love when it's clear that my love for you means nothing to you after what you've done? So why should I care about your love? But I don't want to lose you. Well, I fail to understand how you thought you could shatter my trust completely and still expect to keep me. You took me for granted, and now you don't deserve me. Emily appeared bewildered. I'm going to my place. There's still a lot of work to be done around the house. I'll be back for dinner with you and the kids. Please don't bother me until then. I stood up and headed back to my apartment. Emily wept as I departed. Leaving Emily was incredibly painful. I longed to embrace her like before, but deep down, I knew there was no returning to what we once were. The Emily I knew as my wife was gone and would never return. Anything I have with her now will serve as a painful reminder of everything we could have had, everything she carelessly destroyed without a second thought or a hint of remorse. Before dinner, the kids and I ventured to my side of the house to explore. I showed them the new kitchen area and my plan to replace the back wall with glass, overlooking the pool. They seemed concerned as they observed the fence dividing the backyard. They grasped that this side would be mine. Then I indicated where their new rooms would be on my side of the house. Dad, why do I need 2 bedrooms here? Tommy inquired. Because this side is going to be my home, and that side will be your mother's home, I explained. Emma, are you and Mom getting divorced? Tommy asked. Dad, Mom won't say anything no matter how many times we ask, Emma added. And no, we're just separated. I don't want to be a weekend dad, so I thought it would be best to split the house, and you two can choose which side you want to live on. Just as we were about to continue, Emily popped her head through the front door to announce that dinner was ready. We ate in silence, with Emily appearing tense. It was evident that the children had picked up on more than we realized. Tommy blurted out too loudly, I'll move in with Dad once he's done decorating my room. Emily's face registered shock. Dad told you we're splitting up. We're not. It's just a misunderstanding, and we're still discussing it, Emily clarified. Emma slammed her hand on the table and exclaimed, who's changing? I want to know. Emma and Tommy exchanged looks between Emily and me. I locked eyes with Emily, who avoided my gaze and stared at her plate. When Emily began to cry, the children got their answer. I informed the children that their mother was exhausted and needed rest. Guiding Emily to the bedroom, I assisted her in undressing and tucked her into bed, planting a quick kiss on her forehead, reminiscent of comforting a child after a nightmare. I switched off the light and closed the door. My focus shifted to Emily, akin to handling a grown child who had committed a grave offense and faced a lifelong sentence. While I still harbored love for her, she was no longer a prominent figure in my daily life or thoughts. Initially, I checked on Tommy in his room. He lay on his bed, engrossed in correspondence with his friends. When I asked if he wanted to talk, he declined. Proceeding to Emma's room, I found her angry and tearful. Why did she do this, Dad? She questioned. You'll have to ask her. Forgiveness isn't easy, I replied. Then I don't know if I can forgive myself, she lamented. I understand, but I want us to remain a family, I reassured her. We are. I just won't share a room with Mom anymore, she declared. We embraced, exchanged declarations of love, and I returned to my part of the house. This became our new routine. As I typically left for work before the kids woke up, our mornings remained unchanged. Emily and I continued to split responsibilities for shuttling the kids to their various activities and events. Family dinners persisted in Emily's section of the house whenever possible. Despite Emily's attempts to discuss our situation weekly, I rebuffed her, stating my reluctance to engage. School functions became noticeably different. I consciously avoided standing or sitting near Emily during our children's events. If she approached me, I quickly excused myself to the restroom and relocated. Upon my return, I was rarely alone for long, as single or divorced acquaintances often gravitated toward me. They invariably inquired about our relationship status, to which I consistently replied that we were separated. As of the following month, I invested in new attire, appliances, kitchen fixtures, and furnishings for my side of the house, transforming it into a stylish bachelor pad with a large TV and updated entertainment system. I spared no expense when I acquired a high-end convertible. Emily voiced concerns about our finances. Tom, can we afford all this? The car must have been expensive, Emily asked. Linda, my car was older than yours by 8 years, and I needed an upgrade. You've always replaced your car twice as often as I did, so I decided to catch up on those missed years with my new car. And as for everything else that's new, did you really expect me to live in a rundown place? What about the furniture? I thought I was considerate by not making you part with any of the furniture you chose for your home. I'd be happy to share it with you. It's fine. Your taste in furniture never appealed to me. Why didn't you say something earlier? I kept quiet because I wanted you to be happy. Furniture wasn't a big deal to me. I let her ponder that for a moment. Don't worry, we're financially stable. Actually, the house is paid off, and once the kids move out, my side will be too big for me. I plan to rent it out for extra income, so money won't be an issue. Emily flashed me her most approving smile, the "someone's getting lucky today" smile, and reached out to pat my shoulder. I'm not complaining. I like your new car, and you look great in your new clothes. Thanks. I can't take all the credit. Tommy and Emma wanted a convertible to drive, and Samantha helped me pick out the clothes and furniture. Turns out we have similar tastes. At the mention of Samantha, Emily's smile faltered, and her hand dropped from my shoulder. I was just curious. With that, she turned and walked away. I hadn't meant to flaunt Samantha in Emily's face, but she was becoming a significant part of my life. I also realized that I often thought about Samantha and seldom about Emily's feelings. Samantha started frequenting my side of the house regularly. Eventually, Tommy moved into my side as his main bedroom. Emma, who had mostly stayed on Emily's side, began spending more time with Samantha. Samantha seemed to assume the role of Emma's cool older sister. Before long, Samantha was spending weekends and most weeknights with me. The only contention arose when I insisted Samantha join us for family dinners for the second time. Emily remained polite, but it was evident she didn't want this to become a routine. The next day, as I was leaving for work, Emily intercepted me. Tom, I appreciate our conversation, but I'd prefer if you didn't bring your girlfriend to our dinners. That's our time to be a family with the kids. This is great going forward. I'll skip dinner when Samantha isn't there, but I'll also extend an open invitation for the kids to join me and Samantha for dinner if they want. That's not fair, Tom. Dinner time is our only chance to be a family together. So are we talking about fairness now, Emily? All right, let's be honest here. Samantha is becoming a significant part of my life, and I want her to be more involved. Samantha gets along well with the kids. Excluding her from our family dinners doesn't seem fair to her, fair to me, or fair to the kids. If you want to exclude her, you'll be excluding me too. But Tom, Emily, your idea of honesty has always been self-serving. Forget about my feelings. I bet you thought you were being honest when you snuck out the back door to be with Michael Stevens. Even though we weren't living together anymore, it was surprising to see how Emily still thought she could manipulate me easily. Emily, you threw integrity out the window that night. So if you don't like it, fairness would be for you to start cooking dinners on my side, and I'll let you join us. Samantha loves cooking, and she's great at it. With tears in her eyes, Emily said, I'm sorry I brought this up. Samantha is more than welcome to join us for dinner any time she wants. After the pool and hot tub were finished, Tommy particularly enjoyed hanging out with Lisa, Christy, and Susan by the new pool. They shamelessly flirted with Tommy, engaging in a friendly competition to see who could make him blush the most. Their competition escalated with tighter swimsuits, but Christy had an advantage with her ample curves. When she kissed Tommy in the pool, pressing her chest against him, she won the contest. Tommy couldn't leave the pool for a good 10 minutes despite the cold water. Tommy was undoubtedly the winner in their game, gaining confidence, and eventually getting a girlfriend at school. Once the girls met Tommy's girlfriend, they stopped flirting with him and treated her like the luckiest girl. Samantha has some amazing friends, and no, I never allowed Emily to visit my side of the house. I didn't want her complicating my relationship with Samantha. Unfortunately, a few years later, Samantha graduated from high school, and our relationship ended. I could see it in Samantha's expression at Susan's wedding, where we attended together. I realized I was essentially becoming her provider due to our age gap. While it didn't bother me, I sensed it bothered Samantha. Despite our wonderful rapport, spending entire weekends together and integrating with each other's families, there was an unspoken tension. When Samantha hinted at relocating, I proposed to her, but she expressed her desire to adhere to a family tradition instead. Although she didn't explicitly say it, I could sense her internal conflict. I was perfect for her in many ways, just not the right age. I felt like Samantha was taking me for granted, assuming that great men like me were abundant. I subtly tried to make her realize that her rigid standards were creating an insurmountable barrier for any man. Just like with Emily, my success seemed to backfire, as Samantha seemed to think I was interchangeable. I reminded Samantha of Emily's similar mindset and where it led her. Samantha adamantly denied ever making the same mistake, sealing our fate. Ultimately, I understood Samantha's decision. I assured her that if she ever changed her mind, I would be there for her. Perhaps we might reconnect later in life when the age gap isn't as significant. I cherished every moment spent with Samantha, appreciating her honesty in our conversations, unlike Emily's deceitful actions. As for Emily's friends, who were once my own, they occasionally tried to persuade me to reconcile with Emily, but their arguments fell flat. I would counter their arguments with the reality of how it feels to be cheated on by your spouse, which they seemed to find acceptable and even encouraged, based on what I witnessed that night. Actually, I believe it wasn't mere chance that led us to a club frequented by Michael Stevens. I just happened to be married to the most attractive woman. Call it karma. A few months later, I heard that the girls had switched their girls' night out to a new club, one where Michael Stevens was known to frequent, without informing their husbands. I casually mentioned to David, a coworker, that I saw Dee dancing with Michael at the club. David's friend even noticed that Michael vanished about an hour later, coinciding with the departure of the group of ladies from the club. However, David's friend didn't witness Dee leaving with the group. When confronted, all the wives denied being at the club and insisted it was a mistake. But days later, David's friend shared a photo showing Michael Stevens conversing with the wives at the table. Eventually, the wives admitted their presence at the club, but each claimed no one left with Michael. However, their conflicting stories eventually revealed the truth. Reluctant to betray their friend, the wives refused to identify who left with Michael. By the time they disclosed it was Dee, the damage to trust had already been done. According to what I heard, during a meeting of husbands to compare their wives' accounts, David aptly summarized the situation. He noted how the wives covered for each other for a long time and how easily they lied. This wasn't their first girls' night out. How could they be sure it wasn't Dee's turn to have an encounter with Michael Stevens or someone else? Each husband observed the expressions on their wives' faces when Michael Stevens approached them that evening at our table. Everyone overheard their wives condoning Emily's behavior and expressing envy over her opportunity. After Emily attended the first bachelorette party, all the husbands became familiar with her. They were initially pleased with the newfound excitement in the bedroom as Emily discussed her encounter with Michael. However, a few months later, one husband jokingly complained about hating sleeping on silk sheets. After comparing notes, they realized both sets of silk sheets were new and identical in color. In discussions with other husbands, it came to light that 4 couples had recently acquired new white silk sheets for their beds following Dee's night with Michael. The husbands grew concerned that their wives were revisiting their own encounters with him. All 4 couples ended up divorcing within a year. I learned of this when David, the first to divorce, apologized to me and explained the events leading to his split. Subsequently, each husband personally expressed regret to me for their involvement that night with Emily. They all essentially admitted that if they had stood up for me, it might have sent a clearer message to their own wives, potentially saving their marriages. As for Michael Stevens, his habit of pursuing married women eventually angered the wrong person. No one knows who, but as Michael exited the club with his latest conquest, someone in a ski mask stunned him with a taser. Before Michael could recover, the assailant struck him in the groin. While Michael screamed in pain, the attacker severely injured both of his kneecaps. Despite having video footage, no one was ever apprehended. There were too many husbands with motives and opportunities. Michael lost his ability to walk. Regarding Emily, our last discussion about our relationship occurred on the day Emma moved out. By then, we were already divorced, and I had leased out my portion of the house, relocating to a seaside condo. Standing in the driveway, Emily asked if she could speak to me after Emma left for college. Tom, I still love you. I made a terrible mistake, and I've regretted it every day since. I haven't dated or even glanced at another man since then. I know you haven't been in a serious relationship with anyone since Samantha, and I'd like you to move back in with me just to see how things go. Emily then removed a necklace from around her neck and handed it to me. Hanging from it was my wedding ring, the same ring I had given to David the night Emily left me. Emily gazed at me with hope in her eyes. You still don't grasp what went awry, Emily. That night, you believed it was a test of my love for you, but in reality, it was a test of your love for me. But I truly love you. And no, you cherish what we once shared. You loved our seemingly flawless marriage, having the ideal husband and children. You appreciated that I didn't treat you like an object or a trophy wife, that we made decisions together. You relished our carnal moments, even if less frequent, as intense as our initial encounters. You admired that I prioritized your feelings above all else. You valued the financial stability I provided for your pursuits. But most of all, you treasured my unwavering trust in you without hesitation. Now you claim to love me more than ever, realizing you won't find another who could make you as happy. No one will ever love you as intensely as I once did. Emily remained motionless, holding the necklace at arm's length, her grip tightening until her hand turned white. You failed to appreciate what we had, and now it's lost. I can't be near you anymore. I'll never again give you the chance to hurt me like you did. I thought it was us against the world, but you destroyed us when you chose to be with Michael Stevens. Emily began to sob. How many times must I say I regret it? It was never about Michael, Emily. You thought yourself fortunate when he took you home, but I was fortunate too. When I was at my lowest, your friends tried to convince me I was foolish, but you showed me we were truly special, not because of you but because of me. You left because my love was stronger, not yours. My love would never betray like you did. It was the melody to which we danced, making us unique. As I sat at this table, furious, contemplating, I saw Samantha across the room looking sorrowful. When she caught my gaze, she smiled. That smile reminded me I still had a chance for happiness, to invest my love into a new we, a different us. You opened my eyes and set me free. With that, I climbed into my convertible and drove off with a grin. I couldn't wait to return home. Samantha left her job and moved in with me last week. Since then, she's shown me she'll always need me in her life. Trust is a beautiful thing.